what is the primary objective of a bank is it has to safeguard the interest of the depositor. They are the custodian of our money. And if it's a cooperative bank, if the RBI, just rubs its shoulder saying that, it doesn't get regulated by RBI, then why does it have a license to work as a bank? Tomorrow, if a bank can get looted, then I have not invested into a small Ponzi scheme, small company which vanishes after a fortnight. I've invested in a bank. And if the bank cannot be regulated in this country, whether it's a cooperative bank or a government bank, I don't think we should have such banks in our system.
Why central government is not taking the responsibility? Why state government is not taking the responsibility? Why RBI is not taking the responsibility?
The finance minister has acknowledged that the health or the financial health of cooperative banks is very weak, that most of them are in bad shape and it needs a cleanup. But does that acknowledgement help you as a depositor in any way? What are your expectations from the government right now?
If the cooperative banks cannot be trusted, why don't we put a notice outside the cooperative bank saying that depositing money here is losing money? If we cannot audit, if we cannot run the cooperative banking system, it should be closed completely. Otherwise, crores of people like us will suffer for no fault of ours.
Back in September 2019, you'll remember that there was a bank called the PMC Bank, the Punjab Maharashtra Cooperative Bank. Now, the depositors of this bank received a shock one morning when they got a message saying that there's a moratorium placed on the bank accounts and they would not have access to their own accounts. Now, this basically meant that the bank had lent out so much money in loans that they no longer had anything left to the bank to service those loans. Now, when depositors find out a bank is in trouble, what they do is normally run to the bank and take their money out. The RBI was afraid that if that happened, the bank would collapse altogether. So it stopped depositors from accessing their own money. Depositors obviously panicked. Most of them had their life savings, their pension, their business accounts, their salary accounts in that bank, and they couldn't access their own money. They were assured repeatedly by both government and the RBI that this was a temporary thing and they would get access to their money as quickly as possible. Since then, we've seen this happen to other banks like Yes Bank, the trouble in Lakshmi Vilas Bank, but the RBI managed to find solutions rather quickly. But for the depositors of the PMC Bank, there's been no solution for the last 20 months, and they're living without access to their own money. It was discovered that the directors of this bank or the people who were running the bank had colluded to give out loans to people who didn't deserve those loans. So effectively, there were massive irregularities. It came to light effectively that bank officials had hidden this from the RBI and from regulators. So what they did was they allowed one company, HDIL, to borrow 73% of the loans that they had given out. And the bank officials did not classify these loans as non-performing assets. They hid it from the RBI. And then it eventually reached a point where the loan was ballooned so high that they could never recover that money. And that then affected the capital of that bank. After that, the Economic Offences Wing of the Mumbai Police began an investigation, and they charged, in this case of forgery, cheating, criminal conspiracy, the bank's former chairman, managing director, other senior officials, HDIL's executive chairman, and several others. That investigation continues. But for the depositors of this bank, they've still been left in a lurch. There's been extension after extension, but they haven't had access to their money, and now they continue to live in complete limbo, not knowing when they will be able to access their own savings. 118 depositors apparently have died in the last 20 months. The RBI has said that the bank's financial situation is so bad that it's having trouble finding an investor. So what happens to the depositors? Speaking to me right now is Mr. Chander Purswani. He's the president of the PMC Depositors Forum. Mohit Wadhwani is a depositor himself. And Sanya Chabbria is also a depositor. Both of these families have suffered a great deal because of what is happening. I want to start with Mohit. Mohit, I understand that your family has bank accounts in this bank. Would you tell us what you've gone through over the last nearly 2 years, 2 waves of COVID, all of the stress on your family? Who was the depositor here and what has happened since then?
So myself and my father, both of us are depositors of the bank. My father has been banking with PMC since 2007. And from the time I started my professional career, I have kept all my savings in this bank. And to be very honest with you, we are in such a situation that we really don't know what is future for us, because our family's entire saving is in the bank. Similarly, the reason we went to this bank was that the staff was extremely polite. The services that we got was excellent. And we've been associated with the bank not just for a year or two, but it's almost more than 15 years. And when we initially started banking and the way the bank was prospering, I used to look at the balance sheet. It was growing year on year. There was no issues. And in fact, they were just building up branches. Expansion was what they were looking at. They got forex licenses. It was really growing. So I mean, that is why we invested all our lifelong savings into this bank. And today, in a situation, my father is around 78. He's going through a kind of a depression in this lockdown. He's lost his normal routine, and today he's in such a situation that he really doesn't know what is going to happen with the money, whether I'll be able to get it back, or it will just go off. His entire life savings, whatever he's earned, he's kept it in the bank. So it's a very sad state of affair. I really don't know what's going to happen. And we every day is just that we wait, okay, is there any news whether we're going to get our money? It's a very sad state of affair. And I really don't know what my future is, because from the time I started working, I have put all my savings there, and I really don't know when will I get it back.
I understand that a lot of the depositors of this bank have suffered a great deal, especially during the 2 waves of COVID. Could you take us through what has happened and what these depositors have gone through?
It is like this, since last 20 months, we have run from pillar to post. Each and every politician we have met. I can name them. Devendra Fadnavis ji, I have met him 6 times. I have met Sharad Pawar ji for 2 times. I have met the current Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray ji, twice. So we have got all assurances, but nothing has happened. We need a solution. Since last 20 months, we are running from pillar to post. Why central government is not taking the responsibility? Why state government is not taking the responsibility? Why RBI is not taking the responsibility? If state government wants, they can find a solution under clause number 61, where they can aid the bank and get the solution. They are not ready to do it. The central government can also infuse the funds. They are not ready to do it. In fact, I had met former Prime Minister of the country, Mr. Manmohan Singh. He had assured, saying that this is not a big deal kind of a thing. It has to be infused the money, and then the problem can get resolved. But nothing has happened. He had himself written a letter to Nirmala Sitharaman ji about this with a copy to me, but nothing has happened on that. After that, even Devendra Fadnavis ji has given a letter, because he gave a DICGC solution, out of box solution, where basically we wanted DICGC to infuse the funds so that they deposit on a temporary loan basis, so that all the depositors can save, basically they get saved. But still, the things are going on. Now we have got the investor. Still, Centrum Bharat Pay, basically they are the front runners. Still, the resolution has not come. They are doing the due intelligence since last 5 months. Now you tell me, 159 depositors have lost their life due to stress, strain, and the kind of pandemic which is going on. Even the normal depositor, the senior depositors who had parked their money in the bank, they cannot, remove anything from the bank. In 1 lakh rupees, 5,000 rupees a month, I would like to understand, can the governor of RBI survive in this 5,000 rupees? Can anyone survive in Mumbai with this 5,000 rupees? Nobody can. So why the resolution is taking time? We need this resolution before this June 30th, so that the depositors get saved. So RBI has to come out with the solution. They have the investor now. Still, they are waiting for what? They need to get
Mr. Purswani, it's also true that because this is a cooperative bank as opposed to the other banks registered with the RBI, at the time of this fraud, the RBI was not regulating this bank. We understand now the government has changed the regulations to accommodate a new oversight by the RBI. But It's not, is it technically then the RBI's responsibility?
100%, because RBI issues the license, ma'am. When RBI issues the license, what a common man sees, saying that basically it's a bank. He will not go into the deep integrity of it, saying that it is a cooperative bank, or it is a nationalized bank, or it is a commercial bank, etc. Bank is a bank, right? It is not a chit fund or something where these depositors have parked their money. It is a proper bank where the money has been put. And these the technicality, what you said is correct, what you are mentioning, cooperative bank. In case the cooperative banks are such a nuisance value, we should not have the cooperative bank. Why we issue the license? So the people will not park. Like, you have, in cigarette smoking is injurious to health. We can put a clause, saying that cooperative banks are injurious to your wealth. Because this is creating a nuisance value for the depositors. Finally, the depositors are getting looted. The common man is getting looted.
Do you believe that there is political interest in keeping the cooperative banks running in this manner without RBI regulations or RBI oversight?
See, these cooperative banks are formed by these politicians only. Right? So these scams, etc., which are happening, it cannot happen just like that. It cannot happen just like that only. Something has to be there. Now, as you said correctly, NCP is objecting. I don't know why they are objecting. If you have a dual role played by RBI, obviously the blame is going to go on X or Y. So we should have basically accountability and basically saying that, responsibility, so that, we can, at least hold one person responsible. If there is a dual, accountability, RBI says, since it's a cooperative bank, we cannot do this. State says it is not under our control. Go to center. Center says it is state subject. So I mean, in between, all the depositors are getting shafted. We all are shafted. Today,
let me bring in the depositors who are with us right now. We have Sanya Chabbria who's with us. Ms. Chabbria, thank you for speaking with us. Could you tell us what your family has had to go through over the last 20 months because you don't have access to your own money?
Sure. So basically, my family has been depositing money in this bank for years. We have 4 accounts with the bank. My father-in-law is 76 years old, who has worked 6 days a week to deposit his savings in the bank and actually aim at living a life during retirement where he doesn't have to beg and borrow and depend on anyone else. Now, this person who has struggled throughout his life to have a good retirement life is now struggling for his own money. Leave alone the capital. He's not even getting the interest on which he thought he would survive. And the only mistake that he did was that he trusted the banking system. Now, he went through this bank because the service provided by the bank was really good. He runs a small business. Now the business is halted because of the pandemic, and plus he has no access to his money. So I am a small businessman. I'm a home baker. I have dreams associated with the savings that I've done in this bank. And it's a loss of opportunity. I have no idea when I'm going to get my money back. And every time the moratorium gets extended, it's a mental agony to me and my family.
Mohit, when this happened, there were a lot of people who said, oh, why did you trust this cooperative bank? People go to cooperative banks because they get a little bit of extra interest. They're not careful about it. What is your response to that?
So, like I said, while we understood it's a cooperative bank, ultimately it is a bank. What is the primary objective of a bank is it has to safeguard the interest of the depositor. They are the custodian of our money. Now, when you give a license to a bank and you say, oh, no, it's a cooperative bank, you really don't have any assurity of your money. Do you think anybody going to put his money? I mean, that is ridiculous. The way the system works. If it's a bank, you have given it a license to operate. They are the custodians of a trust. Why does a person put his money in the bank? He has the trust on that bank that they will safeguard his money. And if it's a cooperative bank, if the RBI, just rubs its shoulder saying that, it doesn't get regulated by RBI, then why does it have a license to work as a bank? Tomorrow, if a bank can get looted, then I have not invested into a small Ponzi scheme, small company which vanishes after a fortnight. I've invested in a bank. And if the bank cannot be regulated in this country, whether it's a cooperative bank or a government bank, I don't think we should have such banks in our system. I mean, that for me is an absolute challenge to understand. How can you tell me that a bank is not safe? You don't put all your money in a bank. I mean, then why are you calling it as a bank?
We also understand now, Mohit, that several directors of the bank who were arrested were granted bail by the courts. Do you believe that there is enough, power being put into the investigation, into holding the people who went wrong here accountable?
To be very honest, I am really not interested what the investigation is happening, whether the assets will be liquidated. That is not my problem. I never invested into this bank saying that, okay, you're going to give 75% of all your deposits to one entity. And tomorrow, if that entity dissolves, my money is gone. That was not the deal I had with this bank. I had that, boss, I'm putting my money here. I'm putting my lifelong savings here. I want to ensure that my money is safe. And that is why I put the money in the bank. I mean, I really don't bother what is going to happen, whether the bank is, the money will be recovered. No, that's not my mistake. They have not followed the rules. RBI has clearly failed in, oversighting how the bank is operating, and the brunt is faced by me as a depositor. I mean, what is my fault? So I am really not concerned whether the money is coming back, not coming back. What I'm interested is how fast is the bank going to get revived? It's been 21 months. We are just hearing that it's been worked. And the really sad part is that we are left on to for an investor to save our ship. Otherwise, we are just going to drown. I mean, this is not where a system that I want to be part of. I want the government to take accountability of it and ensure that my money is safe.
I would like to add something.
Please go ahead.
This three directors who have been given bail, Dr. Trupati was there and Tara Singh's son was there, etc. Now they are saying they were not able to find anything against them. So why they were arrested then? They were arrested, then obviously there should be something, right? We are giving the clean sheet to the three directors. Their involvement was not there. I mean, what, they were closing their eyes and sitting in the bank? How the loan can, just be passed to only one person, which is HDIL? If you are giving 75% of the amount to one vendor, obviously, the loot is going to happen. It's simple. Today, all the corporates, take a heavy loan. You have seen the case of Vijay Mallya. You have seen the case of Chokshi. You have seen even this, what is his name? Modi, basically.
Nirav Modi, yes.
Yeah, Nirav Modi, yes. So basically, all this thing, Nirav Modi, etc. So all the corporates are basically doing all these things, and we common men are getting looted. So if the cooperative banks are nuisance, we have to either shut them or give it to the RBI to regulate.
Mr. Purswani, during the COVID waves of 1 and 2 that the country has just gone through, obviously there was a struggle for hospitalization, there was a struggle for oxygen and all of those things. But did the depositors of this bank also struggle simply for money to be able to care for their loved ones? How many cases of COVID did you have within your depositors forum?
More than 100 cases, but the good thing is, Faye, what we had done is, earlier we had passed one order from the High Court where 5 lakhs were given for the critical illness. So that helped even the COVID was included in that. So people were getting at least 5 lakhs for that. That was there. But what happens is to the other people, where the marriages are there or where the education is there. So that's all not included. So people are facing different kind of difficulties in day-to-day lives. That's not been taken care. It's not only COVID.
What kind of difficulty?
Some marriages are there. Some people have their marriages at home. They don't get the money. Then some people, have lost their jobs. They don't have the money to, run the day-to-day activity. And even the senior citizens who are basically, were living on the interest. Today they are not getting any interest. So where do they go? They have to go and beg from either their sons or their daughters, etc. So they don't want to lose their dignity. They survive. They have been surviving since last so many years. In fact, they have been giving money to their sons and daughters, etc. Kind of a thing. Today they have lost their dignity. They don't want to lose that. I would
Sanya,
also
yes.
like to add, since they put this 35A restriction, they always say, RBI says, it is in the interest of depositors. Now, tell me, since last 20 months, what is the interest of depositors? If they, okay, at that time, the nuisance was there, they tried to, curtail the, basically, the funds flow, they did it. But 20 months, nothing. So many cooperative banks are there. There are 1,544 cooperative banks with 8.60 crores lakhs of data, which is there. I mean, the base is there. And there are more than, basically more than 5,000 crores, of the depositors put in the saving bank account. So, I mean, all these things which are there, if the government doesn't want cooperative banks to operate, all this will be lost. So the economy is dependent today only on the banking sector.
Well, I just want to bring in Sanya Chabbria again. Sanya, the government also, the finance minister has acknowledged that the health or the financial health of cooperative banks is very weak, that most of them are in bad shape and it needs a cleanup. But does that acknowledgement help you as a depositor in any way? What are your expectations from the government right now?
My expectations from the government now is a resolution. It's high time that they own up the banking sector completely. If the cooperative banks cannot be trusted, why don't we put a notice outside the cooperative bank saying that depositing money here is losing money? So let's be very frank about it. If we cannot audit, if we cannot run the cooperative banking system, it should be closed completely. Otherwise, crores of people like us will suffer for no fault of ours.
Mr. Purswani, what is your appeal right now to the government?
I would like to appeal the Honorable Minister to resolve this on top priority. At the same time, I would request the Honorable Prime Minister of this country to intervene in this and resolve this on top priority before 30th of June 2021.
Why 30th of June?
Because there is an extension period which is getting over on 30th June. I don't want this to get extended further because more people will die otherwise. They are losing their lives. Every week we are losing at least 2 people. At least 2 people are lost in the PMC family. So at least we need to save them.
All right.
That's what my humble request is.
All right, Mr. Purswani. Of course, appeals right now going to the finance minister and the RBI to find a resolution for the depositors of the PMC Bank as quickly as possible, because obviously as a citizen, when you deposit your money in a bank, the understanding is that this is your money and you will get it with interest whenever you want it. You can access that money. For people like the depositors of PMC Bank to be separated from their money for over 20 months is simply unacceptable. Thank you all for your time, and I do hope you do find a resolution soon.